Two, one. Welcome back to another edition. Not edition. I don't know why I keep saying that, man. I essentially just turn these videos into podcast, and I just pick different subject matter each and every week, which is usually hit or miss for me. I feel like sometimes I come into these sessions to speak with you guys, and I have a very grand idea that I want to attack, and then there are times where I have no idea what I want to talk about, and so, or I kind of have a general idea, I just don't know where to take it. So today, which is April 3rd, it's a Sunday, and then tomorrow is when this video will drop, April 4th, a Monday, which is my first day at my new job at Anytime Fitness up in Norwalk to become a personal trainer slash coach. Very excited for the opportunity, very nervous. Actually, you know what? That's the thing. Like, I haven't felt much nerves or anxiety towards it. I think about it, like there's a persistent thought about tomorrow being my first day on the job, but like nothing, no amount of anxiety has really come across. So I wonder if it's going to be something that pops up tomorrow. That's, I think that's natural for any new endeavor that you try and go through in life. Is there's going to probably be some amount of anxiety and some nerves and some worried thoughts, but I don't know, at the same time I feel comfortable and I'm ready and I'm excited and ready for the new chapter in my life. But besides the point, I don't know why I mentioned that. Today I want to talk to you guys about the power of journaling. So journaling is something that I've been doing, practicing, getting better at. I've been writing now for like journaling as a habit. I'm trying to think of the first year that I started. I believe when I first started journaling, it was 2018. So I've been journaling off and on steadily for about 4 years. And, all of us go through waves with our good habits and the things that, at one point served us very well. So, like for me, I've kind of gone back and forth on the spectrum of journaling consistently and then falling off for a little bit. But here recently, I've been journaling almost every day. I think I've journaled 9 out of the last 10 days or so, something like that. And it's just so funny, like how the benefits come back, and then you realize that you make your life so much harder when you're not doing this particular habit that's really good for you. And so like when you get back on the habit, like get back on the consistency train of doing it, you're like, why the fuck did I ever stop? Because the magic really does work. And so I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit. That's why I'm saying the power of journaling. What sort of power is behind just writing down in a journal or in a notebook or whatever you use. And a lot of people out there are just not even familiar with how to journal, what should I journal about. They got too many questions, and essentially, they're just ruminating about starting the whole journaling process. And I'm here to tell you that I don't know if there really is a right or wrong. I mean, there are some people out there on YouTube and self-help gurus and shit like that that say, there are different forms of journaling, and I'm sure there are. I've tried different types of journaling. I've tried poetry. I've tried like long form journaling. I've tried like bullet pointing things. I've made lists, stuff like that. So I've kind of explored a lot of different aspects with it. But what I will say is, you can go at your own pace with that stuff. I wouldn't expect somebody that just gets themselves into journaling, in the first day to write yourself a novel. The key is, in the way that I look at it, and this is kind of going, yeah, it's journaling, but based off of this book that I'm reading. Hold on, let me pull it up. Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about how with any habit, anything that you're trying to get started doing or creating or, whatever it may be, a lot of times when we're starting that new habit, it can feel like there's a ton of fucking resistance against us because it's outside of our comfort zone. It's not something that we've been practicing. Obviously, we're trying to start something new. And so you don't want to make it too hard on yourself. The idea with any habit, and I'm just going to apply this to journaling, is you want to go up until the point where it starts to feel like it's a chore. And so essentially in the book, he asserts this 2 minute rule where, write for 2 minutes or whatever the habit may be. And then at that point, when you meet that first initial point of resistance, then that's when you can kind of close. You just want to get yourself in the habit of journaling every day, whether it's 2 sentences or 4 sentences, and then, it ends up being a paragraph. And then pretty soon, if you've done that consistently enough for like a week or so, then maybe you're writing full pages in your journal. And so that's the idea, is to just get yourself started, to get yourself moving in the right direction. And I certainly think, even for me, I'll speak for myself, like if you're journaling every day, if you get to that level, it's hard to think in your head, like, hey, what should I journal about? Like, I usually don't come into it with a preconceived approach or notion of what I should be writing about, unless it's something that's like, continuously on my mind. But usually, because I do my journaling in the morning right after I meditate and I've taken my shower, I usually just, as I arrive and sit in my desk, I ask myself that question. I'm like, okay, what should we write about today? What should we go through? And then usually something will pop up. And then what I love about journaling is, so you start with an idea, but you expand inside of that idea, all the nuances, all the other simultaneous thoughts, the thought patterns that arrive along that one idea. That's why I think it's so good to journal, because you think about things, you have a persistent issue in your head, a persistent thought, but when you deconstruct it, you realize that there are multiple different layers to it. And I think that's why writing serves such a deep purpose, is like you can kind of peel back the onion, so to speak, and the layers inside the onion to unpack whatever issue it is. Yeah, you just want to get in the habit of doing it. And once you feel that initial point of resistance, then you can, again, if you're a beginner, that's when you can shut your journal. But I will say to you guys that, like, as you get more natural with the process of writing, I think for me, happens a lot of times, even now, even though I've been writing for 4 years, journaling, I still get a lot of points of resistance. And so, although I do think it is helpful in the beginning to kind of give into that resistance and, give yourself a break and not try and push yourself too hard, once you've gone through that process enough times, it's just like with anything else in life, when you're in the gym or you're running, or you're having a difficult discussion with your partner, and you just come up to that point in your head of like mental resistance, and that's where a lot of people fold. And so even though there's that initial first part of resistance, you have to push yourself through to get to the other side. And usually it's pretty rewarding. So anytime that I've felt resistance, or like I want to quit in my writing, if it's like 2 or 3 sentences in, I just always, I kind of sit there and I acknowledge the thought and the feeling of a little bit of frustration. Then I'm like, okay, let this thing kind of simmer. And then I ask myself, okay, remember what we were talking about here. And then usually, after you let that thought fade and that feeling fade, then some more things come out of you. And then usually that's when I, hit the crack of whatever it is that I'm trying to write about or talk about or sort about in my head. So anyways, that was like I don't even know how long that was, a quick description, probably the quickest description I could give of journaling. But to talk about the benefits, the power of journaling, I probably should have made a list, but for me personally, I just think so much more clearly if I'm writing every day. And again, like, I don't always have to be going through big ass problems in my life. I think when you write and you get to like think clearly through your issues, a lot of those issues that you hype up in your head tend to dissolve. And for me, I just feel more calm after I've been writing for a period of time, because you sort out all that mental clutter. And a lot of people don't really have a practice or a thing to go to do that. So that's one, is just clearing up the mental headspace, making your mental health a lot more of a priority. It reduces anxiety, it calms you, and I think it helps me speak more clearly too in social situations. Like I am less in my head and I'm more present with the conversation, which is kind of odd. Maybe some people wouldn't think that that would be the case after journaling, but I certainly think that, again, going back to that mental clarity aspect, if you're clearing things up in your head and essentially getting rid of the waste and all the nasty items in the sewer, it flushes those things out that like you don't have to now put any energy. Your brain is not occupying any energy in those thought patterns, and it's like, okay, we've kind of cleared that stuff up, so we can focus more on the day-to-day function. What am I doing today? What am I appreciating today? You know, I've got to focus on my job. I want to focus in on this conversation. It's not 100% perfect, but I'm just saying, like, I've noticed that over the last 2 weeks, because I've gotten back into the habit of journaling. I just, yeah, man, I feel so much more calm, so much more clear-headed. Do I still have issues? I definitely do. The issues don't necessarily ever go away if we're talking about mental health. I think I've said that before in the past, that there will always be symptoms, but they're definitely decreased to a minor degree when I'm writing. And it's like one of those things where it's like with any habit, if you stick to it for a majority of the time, like I said, been journaling 9 out of the last 10 days, something like that. It's like the habit and the habit and then the benefits become more and more apparent.
All right, so I'm frustrated. Um, so as I was recording the video and the podcast audio simultaneously, I didn't realize that I had a screen time limit on my phone. I still had that on, so it cut the video off at 12 minutes. So I'm just recording this little snippet that's going to show up after it gets cut to explain to you guys what happened. If you want the full version, if you thought what I was saying was really interesting before things got cut off, then you'll have to head over to either Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast, and then listen to the rest of it through just audio means. I apologize. I thought I double checked everything before I started recording for both audio and video, but obviously I did not, and I must have been on my phone or my computer or both too much this morning before I recorded this, so the screen time was very close to my limit and cut it off, and I didn't realize. So anyways, just letting you guys know what happened. Frustrating, but anyways, see you guys. Love you. If you
Bye-bye.
forgot what the podcast is called, or if you guys haven't gone over there and listened to the podcast, it's called Nurture the Mind. So type that into your search bar at Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Support that shit. Okay, bye-bye.